my name is Mabel. Welcome back to week 2 of EHC VOICE podcast. Today we'll be discussing a topic that we have all faced in the last 2 years and has impacted us in all aspects. In today's episode, we will be talking about the turnout that the pandemic had on our mental health and the challenges we faced as a society. On the 31st of December, there was informed cases of pneumonia of unknown cases in Wuhan city of China. On the 7th January 2020, it was temporarily named COVID-19. This virus then reached the UK in the late January 2020. After our research, 350 million cases were discovered around the world, with the top 5 countries being United States, India, Brazil, France, and UK.
We are now going to pass over to Stephanie, who's going to discuss the UK lockdown and the effect the global pandemic had on people's mental health.
March 2020, lockdown in the UK was announced, with some restrictions still in force today. All education was shut down until September, but some reopened in June. The hospitality and retail sectors lost great revenue and the economy was badly damaged. More than half of adults and over 2/3 of young people said their mental health was worsened during the pandemic. People with eating disorders and personality disorders were affected more than any other diagnosis. Thousands of patients were left untreated for their own illnesses and thus developed mental disorders as a result.
For our next section, we'd like to introduce Livy, a mental health nurse who has agreed to participate in our interview to find out more about the impact of the pandemic on mental health.
So my name's Libby. I'm one of the MindMate support team practitioners who work for the MindMate support team at Elliott Hudson College.
Can you please tell us a bit more about the work that you do?
Yep, so the MindMate support team, we're an early intervention service. So the idea being is we work across further education settings within Leeds to provide early intervention to young people for mental health and emotional well-being. So the idea being is that we want to provide earlier support so that there's sooner and there's less deterioration in terms of people's mental health as well.
From your personal experience, have you noticed any changes in the work that you do since the pandemic started?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of change really. So we've seen patterns in maybe the things young people have been experiencing, but also for adults as well, for everybody I think really, from the impact of the pandemic. In particular, maybe things about mood, so people feeling lower in mood, less motivated. And when we've explored that, it's often been about the impact of lockdowns, so people spending less time doing the things that they enjoy because of restrictions. So maybe that's impacted things like social activities, hobbies, coming into college. So that's something we've noticed really has been a big thing in terms of young people's motivation levels. We've also experienced working with young people as well, the impact on levels of anxiety, worry and stress. So understandably there's been lots of change, lots of uncertainty that we've been facing, and that does have that impact on anxiety levels as well. We've found some things like maybe coming back into college after lockdowns, coming back into like busy, noisy environments after spending more time at home can feel really challenging. It might be things like just thinking about stress in itself and worries. So things around like exams, that actually people haven't had that usual experience of having exams and assessments in the usual way. So now it's kind of facing those challenges again and maybe noticing that actually that impact on taking care of themselves during that time and those increased worries as well.
Do you have any advice for young people who might be struggling as a result of the pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of my main things would be probably thinking about the things that you enjoy and the things that you do for yourself. So maybe things that you've not been able to do over the past couple of years due to restrictions. So that could be things around your hobbies, activities you like doing, but also that emphasis on like things around like self-care as well. So what do you do to relax? What do you do for downtime? Often people say, oh, I just like going on my phone or watching Netflix, but actually it's like, what do we get out of that? It's actually some time to rest. And obviously during lockdowns and long periods we had more time to maybe do those things. There was less on in our schedules. But as lives got busier, sometimes it's still about prioritising, taking breaks and having that downtime in whatever way is helpful for you really. We'd also say stuff like maybe have a look into some like helpful, like breathing strategies. There's something called grounding techniques as well. So that's about when we feel quite overwhelmed. So that could be if we're feeling anxious or quite stressed. There's some really good things on grounding techniques, which is about using all 5 of our senses to just ground ourselves to where we are. So taking a look around us, what can we see, what can we hear, trying to kind of focus in on what we can smell or taste. And at times when that feels quite overwhelming, with quite like heightened emotions, that can be a really simple way to just bring ourselves back down in the moment as well. But overall, often, whatever young person I work with, the key messages are often just around finding those ways to take care of ourselves, prioritise the things that we enjoy doing, and taking those downtimes as well where we can amongst busy life as well.
Just wanted to say a huge thank you to Libby for joining us on the podcast today. We would now like to move on to our final segment, which consists of 4 students asking each other questions about mental health and the pandemic. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hamim and I'm a Year 13 Elliott Hudson student.
Hi, my name's Phoebe and I'm a Year 12 student.
Hi, my name's Jack and I'm a Year 12 student.
Hi, my name's Finn and I'm a Year 12 student.
So, what did you do in lockdown to stay motivated, Jack?
Well, I decided to go on daily walks to kind of like keep me in the right headspace. What about you, Phoebe?
I took up baking and I'd like bake quite a lot of things just like throughout the day. What about you, Finn?
I retook up longboarding after not doing it for 2 years, mainly because it just meant that I could get outside more, I could have more time outside, and it would also benefit my physical and mental health. What about you, Hammond?
So I did a lot of walking as well, and I felt that was really beneficial because it was the summer and the weather was really nice. We could go outside for long periods amount of time and it was really fun.
Did any of you guys find online teaching difficult, and if so, why? Jack?
Yeah, I did find it difficult, and it was mainly because I found it more difficult to concentrate than I would in person. What about you, Finn?
Yeah, I agree. I found it a lot more difficult simply because just I think being sat in the same exact place for 6 hours doing lessons that I'm not really engaged with isn't that good, to be honest. What about you, Hammond?
So I agree with all of you. So it was really difficult, online then because we were stationary for about 6 hours a day and we had additional homework as well that made it really difficult to fit through the entire day. What about you, Phoebe?
Personally, I found it quite stressful because the teacher wasn't there to give you like one-on-one help.
Hamim, what advice would you give to a young person who is struggling to keep motivated?
So, what really helped me was setting really small goals that were easy and, it helped sort of release that dopamine, that sort of good effect. And, from there on then it's just sort of about building a multiplier effect and then, you end up feeling a lot more happier than you did, say, a couple of days ago. What about you, Phoebe?
I think that having a good routine and drinking a lot of water to help you stay hydrated and concentrated helps keep motivation up. What about you, Jack?
I would encourage them to have a clear routine that helps them to have a healthy diet and a good time to go to sleep. How about you, Finn?
I completely agree with all of you. I think just setting a routine, setting like a set schedule to have little tasks that you can do every single day just to keep yourself motivated and to keep yourself doing things. Hammond, do you think talking more openly about mental health is important, and if so, why?
Yes, I think during the lockdown we were all sort of feeling down because we were all sort of forced to self-isolate in our homes, which made it sort of really difficult, to express ourselves properly, which where social media became sort of a big part of our lives, and breaking down those social stigmas really helped us, talk freely about our mental health and really sort of opened us to the right communication channels and where to get help. What about you, Phoebe?
I think it's quite important because if talking about it more openly directs you to the right help that you might need to have a more fulfilled life, then it's something we need to take charge and sort. Jack?
I think it is important because it encourages people to be more honest with themselves, and that allows them to get the professional help that they may need if something is wrong with them. How about you, Finn?
I completely agree with you guys and what Hamim said as well, because I do think it is very important to talk more openly about mental health, as I know in the past people haven't been able to open up about it before because there has been that stigma around it.
Thank you for listening, and thank you to all the students today and our guest speaker Libby from My Mate. Please listen to next week's podcast where we'll be discussing the LGBTQ+ community and how society has changed and what we can still learn.